Hey, what's up, everyone? We're going to talk about the situation over here in the United States of America and the amount of shootings we got going on here, and not so much about the shootings themselves, but we're going to talk about the implications and how they're covered and what the powers that be want you to believe versus what the reality is. Seems to me when you got, and it's not even just shootings, because you got examples of people running down uh, others with their automobile, basically mass murder, mass shootings, mass killing sprees, right? And I think most of the time what you got going on here is evil people doing evil things, and some of these people are just plain old evil, and then uh, media or certain politicians like to lay on top of that evil what they believe or what they want you to believe is the motivation. And sometimes these uh, motivations come into play, and sometimes I think they're just created out of whole cloth by the powers that be, whether it be scumbag politicians or scumbag corporate media, and basically with an agenda to divide the citizenry. So you got a lot of these things, such as that guy that ran over a bunch of people in Waukesha, or that guy that killed a bunch of people at the subway a few weeks ago, or this guy this past weekend that killed a bunch of people at the supermarket. Now, in the past, we've had people doing shootings at churches, of course, schools, all kinds of places, and different motivations are ascribed to these. Sometimes they're trying to say that these are hate crimes based on race or religion. And sometimes they're trying to ascribe to some of these people political ideology. They seem to avoid ascribing a religious motivation when the people that are committing the murders are Muslims. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about political ideologies when those ideologies uh, are black nationalism and the perpetrators a POC. But in other situations, they seem to want you to believe that this person is a supremacist of a certain type and on the right, extreme right of the political spectrum. They seem to have a different set of rules depending on what the perpetrator looked like and what the victims look like. Right? They'll try to say that mental health issues apply to this one, and that one, but not to these over here. Like this guy that shot up that supermarket in Buffalo last weekend. Potato Joe is calling that an act of terrorism, but he didn't use that label for some of these other attacks that occurred during his illegitimate administration. You got the Democrat governor over there in New York calling for more infringements on our rights, and we all know this is all coming one way or another. They try to infringe upon your Second Amendment right, and they use any excuse to do so. So, I bet a lot of you probably may not have heard about the shooting that happened on Friday the 13th in Milwaukee. Big old shootout. I think they at one point a couple days ago they had arrested 10 different people. I saw some video footage of it. They had a reporter out the following night. I guess this was in an area where there's a lot of bars, restaurants, and nightlife activity, and this shooting going on. And they're talking about, this, I don't know what time of night this was, but relatively late at night. And they're talking about some of the victims or the shooters or people involved, bunch of teenagers. And I ain't talking 18, 19 years old. I'm talking about, they said, people 16, 14 years old out late at night partying and whatnot. And, I think that from the footage I saw, they didn't want to blast this too much over the media for the same reason they don't want to put on blast all the violence that happens day after day and every weekend. Is a huge amount of violence over in Chicago. Black on black violence, it tends to be happening a lot in Chicago. And from what I looked at the footage on that Milwaukee thing, they showed people wandering the streets the next night, out having a good time and whatnot. Just based on everyone that I saw in that footage, I'm assuming that shootout was the same thing, black on black violence. But, look up the numbers yourself. I'm sure you'll find that the vast majority of violent crime committed against black people are committed by other black people. And it's the same within any race. Most of the violent crime committed against a cracker like me is done by another cracker. So, they don't want you to know that, though, because they want to hype up all the violence that's white on black violence, because they want to stir up division. They want to divide us, whether it's this race versus that race, gay versus straight, Republican versus Democrat, left versus right, because the more people are angry and pissed off at their fellow citizen, the better it is for these asswipes that want to get more and more control. And you think that the likes of Russia and China don't love it when American people are on the verge of being at each other's throats nonstop? And there was another shooting that I didn't hear much about. I'm not sure when it happened. I think it was over the weekend because it happened at a church. That's another thing they don't like to talk about. They don't want you to know that Christian churches are being shot up here and there, unless the person doing the shootings pasty white cracker like myself. But this shooting is, I think they said 5 people were shot and 1 was killed. And in all these shootings, if all these other innocent, law-abiding citizens were all armed, some nut job starts doing a fucking shooting and the law-abiding citizens were armed, pull out and pop, pop, pop. Instead of having a handful dead, you got half as many people getting a cap in their ass. But no, they want to take away your guns, They take away law-abiding citizens' guns. We all know. We say it every time this topic comes up. The only people going to be left with the guns are criminals, because by definition, they don't follow the law. So you put another law, then this, that, and the other gun aren't legal. The only people going to have those guns are the criminals. But with the current administration going on, they are criminalizing law-abiding citizens' legal behavior. Meanwhile, the likes of George Gascon and other Soros-backed DAs throughout the nation are letting the criminal scumbags get buck wild and run crazy, commit a violent crime, and be out the next day. Anyways, back to this shooting here in California, Laguna Hills. Kind of worrisome in my eyes, because the shooter was a Chinese guy with ties to the CCP somehow, right? I don't know. Supposedly he was a member or represented some organization, but, pretty much any organization or business over there in China, they all have ties to the CCP. It's a communist dictatorship. They got their hands in everything over there. And the people that he shot were Taiwanese. Now, we all know that China claims that Taiwan's part of China. And, who knows in how many years they're going to invade Taiwan to take it over. But when you got a Chinese person going on a shooting spree at a Chinese person doing a shooting spree at a Taiwanese church, now that sounds like terrorism to me, because that sounds like violent acts done in the name of political ends. That's what terrorism is. I don't think Potato Joe really knows what's what, but then again, he's just doing what he's told. But anyways, I'm going to throw a bunch of links down below to some articles about all this stuff going on. Let me know what you think. If you think that these different shootings seem to have different criteria applied to them by the media and politicians, depending on the elements that I discussed. And if you don't think it's all just deployed to divide the people up further and cause conflict amongst the people just so that the scumbags have an easier time controlling the people. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch y'all on the next one.